Well, let me ask you a question, for example. Is it possible for someone to have a value? Let's say one of the things they value is success in life. A classic example of, say, a business person. A lot of business people, I say, hey, what's most important to you? They go, success. Okay, that's wonderful. So the question I have for them is, what has to happen for you to be successful? What I'm finding out is this. The target is the values. But how do they know if they've hit the target or not? That's based on your beliefs. And your beliefs are generalizations that you've made, rules you've set up for yourself about what has to happen for you to experience a certain result in your life. Am I making sense? In other words, we have rules. Rules are like what I call if-then. Well, if I make enough money, then I'm successful. Or if enough people like me, then I'm successful. Or if I'm happy, then I'm successful. Or if I grow and learn, then I'm successful. People have these rules within themselves. Or if you respect me, then you never raise your voice to me. Or if you like me, then you'll kiss me. Right? People have all kinds of interesting rules. But you know what's interesting? All of us in the world have different rules. We may even have the same values, but have different rules about what has to happen for those things to be met. Let me give you a classic example. I was doing a seminar once, a Date with Destiny seminar, and we had a group of people there who were all from the same organization. And the CEO of this company, a Fortune 500 executive, incredibly powerful, successful man by virtually everybody's standards. My standards, by the way, are incredible family life. So close to his children and his wife, incredible. A real leader and role model of possibility. A communicator who could really articulate what made a difference in his life and really had a powerful and positive impact on the people around him. Extremely successful in business, extremely successful financially. And I turned to this gentleman and I said, "Are you successful?" Because that was real high on his list. It was like number one, if I remember correctly. And he turned to me and said, "No." Now, here's the most important value for him of pleasure. It's the state he wants most, and yet he doesn't feel like he has it. I said, "Well, how come? Why do you say that? Why aren't you successful?" You know what he said to me? He told me his belief. He said, "Well, in order to be successful, if you're successful, then," and he went through this long list. He said, "then you've got to make this much money," and I think it was like $3.5 million or $4.5 million a year, and he was only earning $2 million a year at the time, only. It was, you have to always be up and never feel down or disappointed. How's that for setting yourself up for failure? It was, you have to be totally physically fit, which for him meant not just being at your ideal weight, but having a body fat ratio, I forget what it was, something like 14% or 13 or 12%. And of course, he was about 4 points above that. You know, and you have to, I've forgotten all the lists. I mean, it was unbelievable. This man's rules about what has to happen to succeed, his beliefs were keeping him from experiencing the level of joy and pleasure that he deserves to have. Now, do you ever do this to yourself? You better believe you do. But you got to find out where it is so you can make some changes. That's the purpose of today's tape. Now, let's take another example. I turned to another guy in the room because, by the way, the room was aghast. They could not believe this guy didn't feel successful. So I turned to somebody else in the room and I said, "Sir," and the person I picked, by the way, was probably the most vivacious, outrageous person in the room. I picked him because he was bouncing off the walls, basically. And I said, "Sir, are you successful?" He said, "Of course I am." And I said, "Well, how do you know?" And by the way, that's how you get someone's beliefs. You ask them the question, how do you know? When they tell you something, how do you know that's true? And they'll tell you the belief that's behind it. He said, "Well, I know I'm successful because every day above ground is a great day." I said, "What?" He said, "Well, look, if I believe that every day above ground is a great day, that's my basic belief about life. And so if I look down and I'm above ground, then it's a great day. If it's a great day, then I'm successful." That's logical, isn't it? And he's like bouncing off the walls. See, his rules for success, his beliefs, what is required for him to feel successful, are very easy to meet. Now you might say, "Well, that's really stupid. He'll never succeed." He's a very successful person. Listen, a lot of people think that, gosh, if I feel successful, I'll lose my motivation. No, if you feel too comfortable, you lose your motivation. But as long as you believe that you must continue to grow to be happy, and as long as you keep setting your sights on new goals and you enjoy the process, you have some real power for your life. See, most people in life do one or the other, right? And I used to be that way. I was real outcome-oriented. My whole thing was succeed. So I went for the outcome, and I went for it, and I achieved my outcomes. But then I'd achieve my outcome, and my brain would go, "Is this all there is?" And I didn't have happiness along the way. What I learned is that life is a process. You got to learn to enjoy the flight, not just being there or not just getting to some place or destination. Life is not a destination. Life is a process that needs to be enjoyed on an ongoing basis. And you know what the problem is? Most of us in life have values we didn't design that are taking us in a direction that we have no clue about. I mean, we got security up there. We have no idea the fact that that's shutting us down. Or we got adventure and we don't have it tempered with intelligence, let's say. And so we're out there like a maniac doing crazy things. Or we've got something like success, but on the other side, we've got fear of rejection and failure. So sure enough, we start to succeed and then we sabotage because we want to feel the pain of failure. And we run into these things where we sabotage and feel lousy. People have this stuff happening all the time. That's problem number one. But even worse, on top of all that, we got all these beliefs about what we have to do to succeed that are absurd. We make it so difficult. Hey, listen, remember, every state that you want to feel, all those values that you want to get, you can have them right now. I mean, think about it. If you wanted to feel successful, you could do it right now. Try it. Sit right now the way you'd be sitting if you felt successful. Oh, come on, do it. Don't just sit there and listen to me. Sit up. Come on, sit the way you'd be sitting if you felt absolutely, totally happy and successful. Breathe right now the way you'd be breathing if you felt totally happy and successful. Put the kind of look on your face, maybe the smile like you'd have if you felt totally happy and successful. Put a little strut in your shoulders like you would if you felt totally happy and successful. Think about what you'd say to yourself if you really felt totally happy and successful. What would you picture? What would you see? And you know what? If you work at this, can you feel successful right now? You better believe you can. Remember, all the emotions that you could ever have are nothing but physiological storms in your brain. Put your body in the right place, focus on things the right way, you feel them now. You don't have to do anything to feel those things. But here's the problem. In life, most people have set it up so it's almost impossible to win the game of life. They've set up the rules of this game so it's so tough to win that they wonder why they're disappointed or frustrated or angry all the time. It's because they've got lousy beliefs and they got values somebody else created. Where'd your beliefs come from? You didn't create them. You learned them from your environment and the people around you. See, what my whole life is about now, my primary focus in our Destiny Technologies, is getting people to design values and beliefs that automatically make it easy to feel alive and win every single day, no matter what happens. Because we can't always control our environment. Hey, you can't always control the wind, but you can control your sails. And so what I've learned to do is set up values and beliefs that empower me. And every day I'm making more distinctions with myself as well as the people that I share with in seminars. So I want you to take a really good look. What are your core beliefs? Now I'll tell you there are two types of beliefs, and we'll wrap this up and get you doing an assignment. Belief number one are what I call global beliefs. Global beliefs are giant generalizations you've made about life or people or things. In fact, global beliefs are usually languaged in the form of life is, or I'll give you the words, or is, am, are. That's the way I look at global beliefs. So life is, people are, I am. Does that give you an idea of the kind of beliefs I'm talking about? So what are some of the beliefs you have about who you are? And do they govern how much of your ability or skill you really use, how much of your personal power you tap into? What if you got a belief that says, well, I'm not very intelligent anyway, or I'm not very skilled, or I don't have enough education, or I don't have enough ability? Do those beliefs affect the quality of your life and the success that you have or don't have? Do they affect what you're willing to try or not try in your life? You better believe they do. Hey, I told you where I was years ago. I wasn't exactly a picture of success. Virtually every area of my life I was unhappy with. And the primary reason was I had a bunch of values that were pulling me in opposite directions, and I aligned those. Now, you can do that a little bit on your own here as it is, but I'll tell you what I did that was equally important that you can absolutely do today. And that is, I changed some of my core beliefs. I had global beliefs like, well, I'm not really that smart enough, or I'm too young. Now think about that. I don't have the education. And by having those kinds of beliefs, it kept me from giving 1,000%. I thought, how can I share this with other people? How can I go teach these psychiatrists when I don't have a PhD? I mean, they're not going to listen to me. Besides that, I'm too young. Besides that, I don't have enough money. I had all these beliefs, one after another, that kept me from doing things. I'm not quite smart enough anyway. With those kinds of beliefs, I literally shut down my ability. Hey, remember, whether you believe something is true or whether you believe it's not, you're right. Your beliefs are literally the floodgate that opens up your power and possibility. Limiting beliefs shut you down and immediately chain you to limitation. If you want the key, all you have to do is adopt a new belief, and you can do it literally in a moment or two. Because you know what? You have conflicting beliefs in you already. You've been taught things like, look before you leap. But you also believe, he who hesitates is lost. Isn't that interesting? So which one do you pick? See, most people think of beliefs as being like permanent things. They are not permanent. And in tomorrow's session, we're going to show you exactly how to change virtually any limiting belief. For now, though, you want to identify what they are and see what the challenge is. Do you have some beliefs about, let's say, other people? People are honest, people are dishonest. People take advantage, people are givers. Does it make a difference which of those beliefs you subscribe to? Will it make a difference how you relate to people, how you treat others, and how they treat you because of the way you perceive them before they even open their mouth? I'll give you an example. What if you had a global belief that said this: Martians steal? And let's say you walk in a room, and as you walk in, you notice there's some Martians in here. And so sure enough, you forget about it for a while because you're caught up in what you're doing. And then later on, you leave. And after you've left, you notice, oh my gosh, I forgot my purse or I forgot my wallet. You run back to the room, and guess what? Sure enough, that wallet or purse is missing. What is the first question? Since we've already talked about questions, what's the first question that fires off in your mind? Tell me. Which Martian took it? It's not where did I leave my purse or wallet, it's which Martian took it. See, our beliefs determine which questions we even are willing to ask. Interesting, huh? See, in the last tape we talked, if you recall, on the questions that we ask determine what we focus on and what we feel. I'm here to tell you also that the beliefs you have determine which questions you're willing to even ask yourself and which habitual questions you have. See, if you think that you're inferior, you're going to probably ask questions like, why do I always do this? How come I'm not enough? And if you keep going, how come I'm not enough, your brain will go in there and search for reasons to show you why you're not enough, and you'll feel really wonderful. See, we've got to change our core beliefs. We've got to get beliefs that support us. So global beliefs are life is, people are, I am. Second kind of beliefs we've already talked about. I call them rules. Rules are if-then. You have rules for, well, if you love me, then you would do this. If you appreciated me, then you would do that. If you respected me, then you would do that. And you know what? People have different rules, don't they? I'll give you an example. My wife Becky and I, when we first met, we both value respect. We think it's important. We grew up in families where it was highly valued, and that's where we got those values. The difference is we have different rules about respect. I'll give you an example. My wife Becky grew up in a family whereby first of all, respect was very, very important. If you got it, you had lots of pleasure, and if you didn't have respect, there was a lot of pain. Does that make sense? Now, so she learned through basically punishment and reward that respect was an important value to have, and it's built into her nervous system. She doesn't know why. She just got it in there, just like you don't know why your values are there. What happened? Well, her beliefs or rules about respect are these. She was taught, you never, ever raise your voice with a person if you respect them. Even if you're upset, you never do that. And of course, you'd never use anything that would even possibly be considered as profane language. Now, I grew up in a family whereby respect was very, very important. So was honesty. They were like tied together. And in my family, if you respect somebody, you've got to be honest with them. You got to communicate how you really feel. You can't hide any of those feelings, and you're to express them with all the honest feelings you got. You're not to hide anything or hold anything back. In my family, that was considered to be lying, which would be major pain for you. So you're supposed to express it. And it didn't matter if you raised your voice. In fact, that was called being real. You raised your voice, and if you got a little bit upset, you expressed that. And, you might be wrong, and you knew you might be wrong, but you were at least willing to express it. Well, you can imagine how these two went. In fact, in my family, if you didn't express what you really felt, you didn't feel any respect for that person, and they didn't respect you. Want to add some more to these rules? In my family, the bottom line was this. There was only one way you could be totally disrespectful besides not communicating, and that was, in the middle of an argument, to get up and walk out of the room. My wife Becky grew up in a family where if you were to maintain your own respect, if somebody began to be disrespectful by raising their voice, there was only one way you could keep your self-respect, and that was to get up and leave the room. Now, you can imagine how these two fabulous value systems with these rules interacted when we first got together. You talk about hairy fights, we're talking major. Now, after a while, we began to discover each other's rules, and we said, okay, we need to create some new rules for our lives because we're big kids now. We can create our own. We don't have to be living the scripts of our past. And so I agreed not to raise my voice to certain levels of intensity, and she agreed not to get up and leave out of the room. Of course, I remember one time something happened. I got upset, raised my voice. She got up and left the room. I yelled to her. I said, you said you weren't going to leave the room. I said, oops. So I'm not saying it's easy, but you got to at least notice what's going on with your values and beliefs because they control your life. Hey, any upset you've ever had with another person comes down to a rules upset. You have rules about how they should behave or act or treat or speak or do something, and they're not living by the rules you have. How can you expect somebody to live by your rules when you haven't communicated what they are? And besides that, are your rules really right? You say, of course they are. Where'd they come from? Well, my learning and my growing up. Well, maybe it's time to reevaluate your rules and see if they make sense. Maybe you should make it easier to win the game of life and create rules for success, for example, a little bit easier. Things that you could experience daily. That way you'd feel successful every day instead of once every blue moon when you make $8 billion and are the king of the earth. See, take another look. That's what I'm asking you to do on this tape today. And I know I've dumped a lot on you. I've dumped here in one little tape what we should do over a period of 3 days to a week. But you don't have to understand it all. Remember, what we said in this program is that each day we're just going to do a little bit more, make a few more distinctions. Just remember, distinctions are power. Just one more understanding, one more way of looking at something, one more distinction can change your whole life. I want you to know as you're going through this program that if you think you have to understand all of this stuff, you're going to feel overwhelmed because I'm putting more into this 30-day program than a person should be able to go through. I hope you'll go through this program again and again. I hope this won't be your only time to go through. I hope it'll become like a mental diet for you, where when you need to knock yourself back into shape, or even if you don't, if you want to be in condition, hey, for me, I finally decided in order to achieve my life's goals, I had to put health at a higher level of value. And one of my rules is I exercise every single day. Now, that was impossible. I mean, before I would be lucky to get myself to do it once or twice a week. But I do that every day. And now my body and my energy levels at a whole new level of conditioning because I do it daily. And it doesn't take long. In fact, I'm addicted to now. I love it. I was like the furthest person from that. You remember me, 38 pounds overweight, no desire to exercise in a million years. But I found the right exercise for myself and I made it happen. I also every day condition myself mentally and emotionally. I do what I call success conditioning. And this tape program offers you that same possibility. So make sure you set yourself up to succeed because some people evaluate, God, is this program working for me? Has my whole life changed already? We're at day 8, has it changed? That may not be the best question to ask, and that may not be the best evaluation. Maybe if you've made any new understandings that you're able to use it all, or if each day you just make one more distinction, then you've learned one more thing and you get a chance to use one more thing, then I'd say you've succeeded. See, for me, success, my beliefs about success are, if I learn something from the situation, I've succeeded. See, I used to be afraid of failure because, God, that was ultimately painful. I now see it as impossible for me to fail. Why? Because in order for me to fail, I'd have to learn nothing. And if at any moment I realize I haven't learned something from it, then I just learned that I didn't learn, and I'll turn it around. I'll say, okay, what can I learn? And as soon as I ask, what can I learn? I'll come up with an answer. So set yourself up so that you can win this game of life. Be good to yourself. So here's your assignment. Assignment number 1, I want you to take out your success journal and I want you to write down the answer to the question, what's most important to me in my life? And make sure you write down ends values, not means values. Remember, not money and cars. What would money and cars and family and friends and relationships give you? So then you write down the states, love, passion, happiness, security, whatever it is for you. Then once you've written these down, put them in order. What's number 1 of importance? What's number 2 of importance? What's number 3 in importance? Because then you'll understand how your brain makes decisions. See, if on your list is something like number 1 is success, and you go down the list and number 5 is, let's say, love, then it's obvious that if somebody asks you to come to the office at 10 o'clock at night and your family wants you to be there as well, it's pretty clear what you're more than likely going to decide most of the time. You're going to go to the office because that's success, because you already feel like love is not quite as important. If love is number 1 and success is number 5, there's a good chance you're going to say, look, I need to stay here with my family. Unless your family says, hey, we support you, we love you, go for it. I know you need to do that. Are you following me? You have to understand your life's priorities because the priorities you've set for yourself are directing your life. So what's most important to me in my life? Make a list. Or you could do it, your values in a relationship. What's most important to me in my relationships? Then go for the moving away from values. What are the emotions I'd like to do almost anything to avoid? Put them in order and ask yourself with each one, which one would I do the most to avoid? What's the one I do the next most to avoid? So you can see what pain your brain is always evaluating. If I do that, will it mean that? Well, then I won't do it. So you need to know what the targets are that are driving your life. What is the carrot in front of you, and what are the sticks behind you that are driving your behavior? And then ask yourself, under each one of these values, what has to happen for me to feel whatever it is? So again, if the number one value is success, what do I have to have happen in order for me to feel successful? Real good question to ask. Or if it's love, what has to happen for me to be willing to feel loved? What has to happen for me to feel like I really have that level of love in my life? And find out what your rules are. You might find that in order for you to feel loved, people have to tell you they love you every single day, and they have to touch you and kiss you and do 19 billion things. Maybe at that time you say, look, I am loved. How do I know I'm loved? Because I'm alive. Or how do I know I'm loved? Because I'm a loving person. So therefore I'm loved. Wouldn't that be a better belief? See, the gentleman who set it up that every day above ground is a great day, and if I'm above ground, I'm successful. He set himself up to feel successful. Every day is above ground, which means every day he's alive. Not a bad strategy. See, you want to set it up for yourself so you can win too. Create a game that works. Those are your assignments. Find out your towards values. Find out your away from values. Put them in their order of importance. Find out your key beliefs, and then mess with them. Go in there and take a look at some of your rules and say, this doesn't make any sense anymore. I don't know where I got this. Here's how I really want to evaluate whether I'm successful, whether I'm loving, whether or not I feel joy. I want to make it harder to feel pain. I used to get embarrassed if anybody even questioned what I said. Now my new belief is, what does it take for me to feel embarrassed? Hey, I have to not live by what I believe is right. That would embarrass me. Wouldn't that be a better belief about what it would take for you to be embarrassed? It means it would be a lot harder for you to get embarrassed. Again, I know there's a lot here. Do as much as you want, but at least do the minimum exercise we've described. Remember, simple awareness alone can change your life massively. When you come back tomorrow, we're going to show you how to change these core beliefs. Once you've decided on some new ones, how to change the beliefs that are limiting you and install some beliefs that absolutely support you with a brand new technology. Till then, go for it. Have fun today. Pay attention to your beliefs. Empower yourself. And remember, live with passion.